This is Colin with Kingdom Culture Counseling, and I want to share with you what I see as the greatest problem in our culture, especially for those in my generation and younger. And as a mental health counselor, I see this all the time, especially in younger people. So I want you to imagine that, I come to you and I say, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder. I was driving to work this morning and I saw these guys on the side of the road, a pack of 5 guys, and they've all got, huge muscles and 3% body fat, and they're ripped, and I decide that's what I want to look like. And so I come to you and I say, hey, I want you to be my personal trainer. And you start giving me a plan. You say, all right, Colin, here's the deal. I want you to meet me tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. We're going to work out in the gym for 3 hours straight. And you're going to work really hard. And once you finish, here's the meal plan. Chicken breast, vegetables. You got to cut the sugar, got to cut extra carbs, whatever it is. All those things that make people really strong, right? So I come back to you and I say, that's really cool. You want me to get up early, work out with you, do runs at night, eat these certain things, stop eating these other things. That's great. But what I'm into is I really love Netflix, cake, and ice cream. And yeah, I want to look like a bodybuilder, but that's what I'm into. So my hope is that you, as my personal trainer, would tell me, and that's also cool, Colin, that you love these things, but what you got to understand is you're not going to look like this and still be doing that. You need to make a choice, Colin. It can be this or this. And the truth is, it could really be anything in between. So me, personally, I'm not a bodybuilder. I know I kind of look like it, but I don't have the 3% body fat yet. I also don't live like this. I don't sit around and watch movies and eat that stuff all day, right? But you know what? Sometimes I'll have ice cream with the kids. Sometimes we'll watch a movie as a family. But these two, neither of these is my life. I'm somewhere in the middle there. And wherever I am, I've got to own it, right? I'm not this or this, but I'm here. I could choose to be here. I could choose to be here. I could choose to be here or here. Wherever I land, I have to own it. And what does it mean to own it? It means that you accept that and the consequences that come with it. What does that mean? That means I don't get to drive down the road and see that group of bodybuilders and say, it's not fair that I don't look like that. Like, they have huge muscles and I don't. Well, the reason that they have huge muscles and I don't is I'm not willing to do what they do. And at the same time, if I've got a friend that, man, he lives in his mom's basement, he's watching Netflix, playing video games, eating junk food all day, like, I don't get to look at him and say, that's not fair that he lives like that. Well, I don't want to live like that. I don't want the things that come with that life. I don't want the consequences of that or this. I want this. And so I've got to accept it and own it that that's the choice that I've made. Now, what does this have to do with our generation and the future generations? Well, especially in this country, and this is not the case in other countries. I used to live in China, and over there, people don't have the mentality that we have here, that things have to be fair, and I want to get this and this. And if I don't get both, it's someone else's fault or life is not fair. And we need to understand everything we do has consequences. And we need to accept that. because the truth is, most of the time, we know the consequences before it happens. So for you, you're probably not trying to decide if you want to be a bodybuilder or eat cake and Netflix all day. For you, it might be something different. For example, a lot of people, they want to be accepted and liked by everybody. They want to be liked, but then they also want to be able to get what they want. Well, you tend to be the most liked, and I'm not saying this is healthy, you tend to be the most liked when you give everybody what they want, right? If we're going out to dinner, there's a group of us, hey, you guys decide, I'm cool with whatever, right? And everybody loves being around those people because they make life easy. But then those same people are upset that they don't get to choose where they get to eat. Well, the reason they don't choose where they get to eat is because they know if they start voicing their opinions, people might not agree with them. They're not willing to have the confrontation. They're not willing to have the people not like them. And so these people, they're not going to get what they want all the time. And these people that do get what they want all the time, they're frustrated that they don't have a lot of friends and people don't want to be around them. Well, that's the way they've chosen to live. And again, you can choose anywhere in between. But we've got to own that, hey, if I don't have a lot of friends, it might be because I'm not getting out there and taking risk or giving up my own wants. There's a lot of examples of this. But this also gets into something called motivational interviewing. And this is where, for me as a counselor, this is super helpful. And hopefully this is helpful for you, even if you're not a counselor or a therapist, that when you're working with friends and people that have any kind of problem, you want to understand how motivated they are. And so if someone comes in here and they say, hey, I have a drinking problem and I want it to be gone. And what I need to do first is I'm going to gauge how motivated they are in this. Where are they on here? Because over here they're saying, I will do anything to get rid of this drinking problem. But I don't know that everybody really understands the consequences that come with that. And so what I'll do is I'll start asking questions that bring up what some of those consequences are. So for example, hey, are you willing to never drink again in your life? Because if you want to do anything, if you're willing to do anything to get rid of that drinking problem, are you willing to do that? And usually it's no, I want to be able to control it. And that's okay. That's their choice, right? But they're not willing to do anything. So how about, are you willing to maybe cut ties with these people that you keep drinking with every Friday night and Saturday night? And I know every time you go to the football game, you end up getting drunk, and that's an issue that you want to stop. Are you willing to give those up? No, come on, that's what I do to have fun. Okay, so, as I ask the questions, I start to see where they're at. And wherever they're at, if they're here, they need to own it. And to realize there's things they're not willing to do, and they can be more effective in getting rid of their drinking problem if they're willing to do the stuff over here. But they've got to own that they are here. And there's some people that they're here. And in our culture, we want something for nothing. We want both. And we think that it's our right to get it. And so, something I see a lot, this is the case with money. There's people that complain that they don't make enough money. Life is really tight, and they can't make ends meet. And the truth is, there are people where that is true. But for most of the people that I see, I hear them say that, but they've got to have a new car that they're leasing. They've got to have the really fancy apartment, or the newest shoes, or the newest iPhone. They've got to look fashionable. All these things cost money. And what they've got to realize is if they aren't willing to give those things up, they might not be financially secure. They've got to make a choice. Do I want those things, or do I want to have that financial security? So another one would be, this is something that I've had to work through, is I think like most people, and maybe this is just me, I like being right. And so in my marriage, I've had to make a choice. When we get into an argument, do I want to be right, or do I want to be united with my wife? And sometimes I've got to let my pride go. And even if I think I'm right, I've got to let that go and reconcile with my wife. Rather than, early in marriage, it's this thing in my head like, I've got to get my wife to understand why she's wrong and I'm right. And when you have that mindset, yeah, it feels good to be right sometimes, but it also feels pretty awful to have a marriage where you're not united and where you feel like enemies. And that doesn't work. But I had to make that choice, and I had to own that I was not living that way. So I've kind of laid out this framework, and this is why this is so important. If we do not own where we are at, we cannot change or grow. If I'm here and I want to be here, I need to understand that I'm here. Because if I'm here and I think that I'm there, I'm going to think that there's nothing I can do about it. And this is where our culture is at, is we think that other people need to change, it's the system, there's all these things that we blame stuff on, rather than taking responsibility. Now here's one other thing. I work a lot with teenagers. This is an example that just came to me. Teenagers, and if you are a teenager, this is probably the case for you. If you were a teenager, you know this was the case for you. And this is not just for teenagers, it's for adults too. We want the authority without the responsibility. If authority goes over here, the more I move this way, the more responsibility I have. And I will bring that to attention to a lot of teenagers, is that they want to be in charge without being responsible. So they want to call the shots with having their parents be in charge of their housing, their food, their transportation, their insurance. And it doesn't work like that. Even in the business world, I will have a lot of people complain that, my boss gets to, do what he wants and he gets to call the shots. And well, yeah, he does. He's the boss. But when he goes home and you clock out, he's going to be getting the calls and you're not. He's got responsibility that you don't have. Another one is risk, right? Someone that starts a business, they take a big risk and they have to work really hard. But once that settles and things get stable, they get to pull back while someone else does the work. Now that someone else typically will look at the owner and think, it's not fair that the owner gets to sit around, he's making way more than I am, but I'm doing the work. Well, he put in the work and he took the risk. Are you willing to put all of your money on the table and say, if this fails, then I lose all of it? Well, no. As an employee, you have a guaranteed salary or hourly rate. And that's nice. So part of it is I want us as a culture to start, and really individually is where this needs to start. We need to assess where we are at. And we need to own the decisions we have made. And we also need to teach the next generation, and really our own generation, that they are responsible for the choices they make. You know, I've made a lot of sacrifices, but I have consequences. I get a lot of good things, and I have consequences for it. So all of this, I hope this is something that will help you as you're trying to make decisions, right? If you're going into college and you need to make a decision on what career are you going to go into, yeah, you can make a lot of money and you might be miserable. You can have a job with a lot of fun and you probably won't make as much money. Now, you know what? This is not a black and white thing. And sometimes this doesn't work all the way. Like, yeah, there's jobs where you can make good money and have fun. Right? But I may have to go into a field where I make a lot of money, like I was going to be an engineer, and talking to my wife, who is not my wife at the time, she kind of helped me to see, Colin, that's not the life that you want. You want a life where you enjoy what you do. And you know what? I found that. But the truth is, I don't make the money I would have made if I was an engineer. But I'm not willing to do something I don't enjoy. I'm willing to do this and take the hit of not making as much money. And I'm so glad that I did that. But if I didn't have this thing to think through, I wouldn't have made that decision. I would have just gone with this and then been upset that I don't enjoy my career. Or I would have just done something fun and been upset that I don't make the same money everybody else makes. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Colin Casper. I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida, and I work at a place called Christian Counseling of South Tampa. Now, we provide counseling in person and virtually if you're in the state of Florida. And we work with those that identify as Christians and those that don't. But the website is www.ccstcounseling.com. And the phone number's on the website. Please reach out if that's something you're interested in. And again, please subscribe, like, whatever else you need to do. Love you and wish you the best.